developer, about ideas for using multi-device games in video and e-learning. So these are some really sort of fun, cool things that we have been doing that we're going to share, and also just to get you to think a little bit more about games and video and how you can use it in e-learning. So it's nice to see so many of you here, considering it's the afternoon and we only have a few more hours to go. Just to give you a bit of background of who we are, we specialize in custom-made e-learning courses, so we only do bespoke modules for clients, and we work with large organizations, and we take their training and we transform it into engaging online experiences. So that's really what we do. And we won awards for stuff that we've done. We were recently named Outstanding Learning Organization, and we've also won E-Learning Development Company of the Year. So we've been involved in it for a few years now. We work with clients in both private and public sector organizations, and some of the things we're going to be sharing today are from our experiences of working with them and really what we've learned. So I hope you're going to take away some practical tips from the things we're sharing today. Well, to begin with, the seminar is called, first and foremost, Love to Learn, and you kind of think, well, what's that all about? You know, why is that important? Well, we know that when people love things and they enjoy doing it, they're more likely to share it, they're more likely to probably learn more effectively. I mean, an example of this is, I don't know if any of you have been watching this, but have anybody been watching War and Peace on Sunday nights? It's just a brilliant BBC series. I'm now sharing it with you because I love it. I'm really busy, but I make time on Sunday night to watch it. I look forward to the next series. It's beautifully filmed. I'm learning about history. I'm learning about Russians, Napoleon. So what I'm getting at is that when you enjoy doing something, you're more likely to absorb it, to learn it. So that's the soft side of loving to learn. But there's also a hard side as well, which is that it's got some real business benefits. I mean, got some good facts here. An engaged workforce means 25% lower staff turnover, and happy employees are 12% more productive. So you can get them to love to do it. If you can create e-learning that's fun, so they want to say, hey, I'm really looking forward to that next course, you're more likely to get it to sort of sink in for people to use it. So that's really the thinking behind that. Now the thing is, we also know that people really love games and video. So this figure really surprised me, but 42% of 6 to 64-year-olds, why 64-year-olds I don't know, in the UK play online games. And when it comes to video, video makes up 65% of our online consumer internet traffic. So that's significant. So we know that people enjoy these things, and this is really across multiple devices. What we were really interested in is we were interested in taking this to the next level. Because what we're interested in are multi-device games and multi-device video, so that it could go out to a wider audience. And one of the things that Jason's going to be going through later is a case study with PFRA, where we did exactly that. PFRA are a public fundraising association, and you'll be seeing some stuff from that later. So what are we covering today? We're going to be talking about, you know, where are we with multi-device? What's the big deal? You know, how ADAPT is really changing things, and we're going to talk about the ADAPT framework that we're using. Why use e-learning games? Why use video? You know, when to use games or video? And finally, we're going to do a live demo. So that's really the plan for today. First of all, where are we with multi-device? What's happening here? Well, 60% of us use 2 devices. Now that's what the research shows. I reckon that a lot of us, and especially here at the technology seminar, use more. So hands up for those who use more than 2 devices on a daily basis. Look at that. Most people, yeah. When I saw that, I had to count myself. I mean, I use 4 continuously on a daily basis. So it's quite interesting, really, that we're happy to kind of use them. Now, Google have defined usage as sequential and simultaneous. And sequential usage is like, for example, Andrea there in the middle, she's thinking about what restaurant to go to, she's looking at the menu, she's online, she's looking at a restaurant, that looks good, and then later in the day she decides she's going to book it, so there she is on her mobile phone booking a restaurant for the evening. So that's an example of sequential usage. Then there's simultaneous usage. So that's when you're using one device, like say a desktop, but then you're also using a tablet nearby. Or it could be like smart TV, like I might be watching a football match and I might be texting my daughter to say, did you see that goal, sort of thing. So, you know, using it sequentially. I think for e-learning, as we use more and more devices, I think there's some real growth opportunities there. It's really exciting stuff. But ultimately, this has an implication for learning. And really, our learners want things that are going to be flexible, that can work on any device, that's going to be consistent so they don't have like a different experience when they're using a different device, and ultimately responsive, so it's intelligent, so it knows what device you're on. So that's kind of where we're at. I'd like to now talk about ADAPT, because ADAPT actually is really kind of transforming multi-device e-learning. And I think actually ADAPT is one of the most exciting e-learning tools to come out in recent years, largely because it's open source and most tools you have to buy. What we did a few years ago is we got together with other professionals, e-learning professionals in the industry, with other companies. We worked with Steve Guild's Kineo and also with Learning Pool to actually develop the framework, which would be open source. And we continue to work with them today, but ADAPT came out of that, and there are now more organizations that are involved in it. But it is actually really exciting because it is all open source, so it's kind of future-proof. Anyone can go on. You can go onto the Adapt Learning Org website and download the framework. The interactions when you design the e-learning can work on any screen, which is significant for e-learning. It uses a scrolling design, which is quite contemporary. Of course, it's LMS compatible, and as I mentioned, it's future-proof. But what we've done is we've taken that tool and we've created some bespoke components so that you can now use games and video into it. So that's really what we've been working on when it comes to ADAPT. So we're now going to talk about a little bit about games and like why games, a little bit about video and why video, and then I'm going to let Jason talk to you as well. First of all, a question to think about: are games a fad or fabric? There isn't a day that doesn't go by that I'm not reading about games in blogs. And if I'm really brutally honest, I think we may have actually started it about 18 months ago when we developed the first real proper games in Storyline, and we just started to play around with games. And it's just something that I've been thinking about a lot. And I think the more research that we do and the more there's a take-up of games, what I'm saying is that this is not a fad. This is not something that's just going to pass away and next year it's going to be something else. I think we're going to see games as part of the fabric of e-learning. It's going to be one of the tools in our toolkit when we want to engage learners. And that really is what this is all about. How can we engage learners more fully? I think that Professor Carl Kapp really sums this up well. He's one of my heroes, and I had the pleasure of meeting him at Learning 2015 in Florida at their conferences here. And he said to me, you know, he said, 10 years ago, if you would have spoken to organizations about including games in their learning, it would be like saying the F word. No one wanted to hear anything about games. Put the word gamification, put ification on the end of it. Everyone wants to know about games now. But it's interesting how we've shifted and we've changed. But what he does say is games are everything, we say, should be a part of great instructional design. They engage the learner, are interactive, and they enable the learner to get immediate feedback and to demonstrate mastery. And I think that really kind of sums it up. We can use games to learn. It's also been supported very strongly in terms of research towards maturity. The research organization have done a lot of work on serious games and simulations, and we know that 31% are now using games, 53 plan to use it in 2 years, and 12% are testing. So this is happening right now. What's been really interesting for us is that we've seen that they're used across many different topics and throughout all industry sectors. So I can't say it's one sector that's using games. We've got clients coming to us in all different sorts of business, pharmaceutical, retail. So it's really interesting. So for example, here you can see an example of a fire safety game for national health. You can see something for TUI, which is a travel, health and safety. Tesco, code of conduct. The Tech Partnership, which is an educational body, cybersecurity. And we're doing stuff in management skills, social media, compliance, sales training, product knowledge. So it's really just across the board. So it's actually really interesting. So we're doing games right now in all these different areas. What we're talking about, though, today is multi-device games. The way the games have worked is that often games will be designed for mobile use or, say, for desktop. And what we're talking about today is games that can be used across both. I mean, I was just sitting on the train yesterday coming here, and there was a guy just playing a game on his phone, and I thought, yeah, what we want is people to play games wherever they are on any device. If he had his iPad, he could have played it on that as well. This game I'm showing you right here, Jason and his team built. It's actually a data security game, and if you'd like to see this game, you can come up to our stand and have a look. But I'll tell you a bit more about it later. The next thing I want to just mention now is I want to move on to video, and video as an emotional trigger. We know that corporations are using it extensively. 98% of organizations are using video in digital learning right now. I think that might be partly also because you can video things using devices like iPhone, so it's really just become much more available. That's incredibly high. But the thing about video is that it provides an emotional trigger, and I think that really is the power of video. And I'm going to tell you a few ways it does that. One is through narrative, one is through storytelling, when you've got protagonists, when you've got antagonists, and people love to hear narrative through video. And this is some work that we actually just recently completed with Royal Mail. If any of you were doing the conference at 3:30, she's doing, Emma at the Royal Mail is doing a talk about this. But this was actual e-learning was for difficult conversations. And here we see Phil, and Phil's been caught saying a swear word in front of a customer, and the line manager's got to go and sort Phil out, and you get to play out the story of Phil, and it's branching, and you can find out what happens. But the most interesting thing was that when they actually tested, and they went back and asked 500 managers after they did this e-learning, how was it for you? 80% said that they were able to apply what they learned immediately into the workplace. And that's really powerful. That's really very exciting. It also offers realism. This is June. She works for United Biscuits. This is an induction that we did for them. And she's got a lovely smiley face. And if you're joining this organization, yeah, what a nice organization. It also enables us to have empathy. Here, this is Danielle. She's repeatedly coming in late to work. The manager's going to have a word with her. You have to understand it from her point of view, from her shoes. So, video allows us to do that. Okay. One thing I just want to really cover too is, when should we use games or video? When are they appropriate? And I would say that games probably work better with the imagined world, with conceptual. Maybe when you want to collaborate, people want to play together. To simplify complexity. Whereas on the other hand, with video, you've got things like real world, you've got emotion, you've got authenticity, you've got nuance. Most of our communication is not verbal. It's actually, through body language, through other ways. You can tell so much from someone's facial expression. Those are all little nuanced things, but we read those. So that's why video is really good there. Both of them, though, can be used for problem solving and decision making. So that's really where you get the overlap. I'm now going to go on to PFRA to show how we've actually combined multi-device with games and video. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the problem. The PFRA are a public fundraising association, and actually all the big charities belong to them, so Oxfam, Greenpeace, Red Cross, as well as smaller ones like Royal Life Trusts, hospices. And the PFRA's job is really to make sure that people follow the guidelines and the rules and the best practices, or in particular for those charities, fundraisers, to follow those practices. And these are for face-to-face fundraisers. Unfortunately, they have a lot of challenges. And I'm sure you've all been reading about it in the paper. I don't know if people have read the story of Olive, and there's some really sad stories actually in the press. And this was all happening when we were delivering this. We were trying to come up with a solution for it. Like chuggers were banned, MPs demand action that vulnerable bone donors aren't being taken advantage of, the fundraisers are pushy, we're clamping down, we want new rules. So there's all this pressure really to do something. And we had to come up with a way that we were going to address this problem. But it is actually a real problem for the charities, because if they're kicked off the streets, how are they going to raise funds for those really worthwhile causes? So this was a real problem, and it was serious. What they wanted, though, what the PFRA wanted, was they wanted a different approach. They didn't want to just say, right, these are the rules and stick by them. They really wanted something that people could understand the impact of poor behavior. What really does good practice look like? And we had to appeal to under 25s. Most charity workers, face-to-face charity workers, are between 18 to 25. A lot of them are university students. They may come on within a day or two. They need to be trained up quickly. So we really had to appeal to them. So actually being multi-device and being able to use your mobile phone and do the learning was really important. Okay. I'm now going to hand you over to Jason, who's going to pick up from here, and he's going to show you what we did. Okay.
Afternoon. She hasn't finished yet, she'll be back, don't worry. So the solution we came up with for this was, as we explained, it was multi-device, because they didn't necessarily have a huge amount of time to go through a long onboarding process. So we came up with 4 10-minute modules to make this learning very easily absorbed and very easy to understand. And we went for that with a games and a video solution, which I'll go through in a second. We wrapped the whole thing up in Adapt, because, as we mentioned, this is for majoritively 18 to 25-year-olds who are very tech savvy, very digitally native, and they would do a lot of their learning mobile first and then maybe move backwards towards desktop. So we did that with that in mind. And in order to do this, we wanted to make it an HTML5 game, so we used the Phaser game engine, which is another open source piece of software which you can download from Phaser online. And we created our own bespoke component so we could put Phaser into Adapt and then make a responsive game that worked on all devices. So essentially we had to look at it in two ways. For some of the challenges and some of the compliance issues they had, we thought that the game approach would be more efficient. So the main three game challenges they had, where they were making the breaches in their compliance, were they were approaching people they shouldn't approach. They were standing in areas they shouldn't stand. And so we thought we'd break this down into really simple bite-sized chunks for them. So in a really simple but a layered approach, they'd learn the basics first, and then as from that foundation we'd make a much more cumulative approach to their learning. So throughout these three quite simple challenges, which are fun and engaging, they get a chance to learn those basic precepts. I don't know if anybody knows what the rules are for a street fundraiser. Anybody know what the rules are for a street fundraiser? Well, in less than 5 minutes we'll teach you what those rules are, and you'll hopefully go away, and if ever you want to do it as a little bit of extra money, you can figure out how. And some of the other challenges they have is dealing with people door to door who are vulnerable. And this couldn't really fit into that game mode, because we need this to be much more emotionally potent and much more powerful. And to make this as authentic as possible, when our fundraisers are onboarding, they needed to see the effect of maybe approaching the wrong people in the wrong frame of mind. So we used authentic disabled actors to convey this real powerful message, rather than sort of skip corners, make sure that they really had the impact that was required. And it enabled us then, because we're using video, rather than just as a didactic tool to tell people this is what happens, it enabled us to show the perspective from both sides. So in the live example I'll show you, we showed one video which showed it from the eyes of the fundraiser, and another one showing you maybe why the other person wasn't really following your conversation, because they were seeing the world through completely different eyes. So I'm just going to switch over now to a live demo. So this is in Adapt. So this is a live module that the P4A have got. So this is our module. So we've got standard components that you would have in an Adapt module. We've got trackable progress, so we can see on our LMS how far they've moved through the module. But within there, we've now got our own game component. So I'll load up our first game component. So what the idea of this is to take them through those quick onboarding steps that they need in a real simple way. So we made this as short-handed as possible, to try and avoid lots of wordy text. Just basically make sure we hammer home those clear and important messages. And the first message they need to know is, where shall I stand? And surprisingly, the one main sort of foundation is they have to stand 3 meters away from other parts of the street furniture. They have to stand 3 meters away from other people who are working in the same public environment. Otherwise, they're immediately breaching their arrangements with the local councils. So the first challenge they have is simply, right, what's 3 meters? So we're going to have a guess. I mean, that guy's roughly about 5'6", so I'm thinking that's probably about 3 meters. Instant feedback, I know I've got that wrong. So to get this right, I need to think again. So I'm going to go roughly, handily there's 2 back-to-back bikes there, so I'm going to use that as a rule of thumb. There we go. So now I know the first rule is what is 3 meters. So now how can I apply that in the remainder of the scenario? So we're going to give that basic foundation and build up on it. So that is their first foundation rule. Now we give you a few more examples of what 3 meters are. If you didn't know, a classic red phone box is a meter squared, so 3 of them side by side is 3 meters. And then they'll see those in the games later on, so they can able to make a scale. 2 bikes, as we just found out, back to back, is also 3 meters, and a great white shark, if you did see it in the street where you're fundraising, is also 3 meters. But hopefully those little sort of comedic touches and those little bits of quirk actually help people to remember those sort of things. So now we know what 3 meters is. So now we're out in the street, we're doing our fundraising action. So where are we going to stand straight away? So this looks as good a place as any, so I'm going to stand here, because you know somebody might come to use the phone. I'm in the wrong place. Why am I in the wrong place? Because I'm right next to a cash machine. In the fundraiser rules, you can't stand within 3 meters of a cash machine, otherwise it's kind of emotional blackmail on somebody who's just getting money out, and there's immediately somebody fundraising. So now I'm going to try and stand somewhere else. I'm going to walk around, like, see up on the mini map in the top right hand corner, or there's a cash machine. I know I can't stand next to a cash machine, so I'm going to walk as far away from that one as I can. I'm going to stand over here. I'm still in the wrong place. I've done it wrong. And as you can tell by the feedback from our avatar, he's pretty disappointed where he's standing there. So I already know now I can't stand in front of a cash point. I can't stand 3 meters from a shop front. So let's try again. I now stood probably in a place that you shouldn't stand if you're going to fundraise, in the middle of the road. So the green man's flashing, so I can move around. So I'm going to move over here. It's to dreaded cash point again. I'm not going to stand next to that dreaded cash point, so I'm going to go across the road. There's quite a long Belisha beacon session to my right. I'm going to keep going this way, and I can see up there there is a shop coming up, so I'm going to stand about here. This looks a bit more like I've been set. I'm still too close to the. Now I'm next to the crossing, so I now know I can't stand next to a crossing. I certainly shouldn't stand next to a shop, and I can't be next to a cash point. So straight away, from a really simple initial concept, I'm layering up those things where I know I shouldn't stand. Now, fingers crossed, as I built this, I should know where to stand in the next game. So now they've put me outside a cafe. This is not going to work. They put me next to a cash point. That's certainly not going to work. So I want to go back the other way, and I can already see up there there's a crossing in that top right-hand corner. So I'm not going to go and stand there either. I'm going to stand just here by that lost cat poster. This looks like a much better place. Yes, finally, I'm getting it now. I understand the places that I shouldn't stand. I'm understanding really simply, with a real bit of shorthand, understanding these places throughout the rest of the scene where I couldn't have stood. So now I know anywhere in this section where there's not the 3 meters, it's fine for me to stand. So I'm going to have one more final go. All right, we've thrown a new actor into the mix. Now we've got a busker. And I know that I shouldn't really be cramping his style either, so I can't go next to this shop. And this is a little touch as you walk away from the busker, it gets quieter, which is quite nice because it's a bit of a repetitive tune he's playing there. So now we're crossing the road, we're going to go back. So I know this is 3 meters because of the scale I learned earlier on. So this looks pretty good. I'm going to stand about here. Yes. So now within a matter of minutes, I've learned A, what 3 meters roughly looks like when I'm out in the street. I learned that places I shouldn't stand. And so straight away, I'm now not going to breach those rules. So I've got an understanding of where I shouldn't be. But I admittedly only got 2 out of 5. So if I went back to do this learning, I'll probably try and improve that score. But it tells me straight away the 3 meter rule, which is one of their main tenets, explains why I shouldn't. So we'll get a little bit of learning there, which will be supported by the rest of our LMS that we'll have. So now I know where I can stand, and now I'm going to find out who I can approach when I'm in the right area. So I've found out where I should be on the street. So we're going to have a bit of a strut down the street now. Now, who can I approach? Here we go. We've got a lady looking quite busy with a baby. Should we speak to this lady? Are we allowed to approach this lady, do you think? No? Yes? Well, we say no. I've got a shake of the head there. Quick feedback on the seat. That was fine. There's no reason why I can't speak to that lady in the street. This guy here, he's a street cleaner. Can we chat to this guy? No. Well, no, we can't because he's out working, and that would be inappropriate for me to speak to this guy. So we're trying to create a quick visual shorthand, so we don't need to explain too much with text. It's intuitive as to who I should and shouldn't speak to. Now, to make somebody look like a teacher, it's really hard unless you put really big leather patches on their shoulders, on their elbows. Sorry. So we've gone back in time a bit. So we've got Mr. Chips and some small kids in boaters. So can we speak to a teacher if he's out looking after children? No, we can't, because he's got his hands full as it is. He's got 4 kids to look after, and he's at work. Well, this guy's in a hurry. Now, it may be not the best idea, but actually, there's nothing wrong with speaking to a guy in a hurry, just as long as he's prepared to stand and to talk. Now, this is a bit more of a sort of a call to make. Do you think we can speak to this elderly lady who's got a Zimmer frame? Is it okay to stop to talk to her? Well, as long as she's prepared to speak and she's shown that she's fully aware of what we're talking about, that's absolutely fine. This guy's enjoying a flat white. Are we able to chat to this guy? Actually, he's obviously sat at a cafe, so it's not appropriate because, unfortunately, he's on somebody's business premises, so it wouldn't be the right thing to do. This guy in a wheelchair. There's absolutely no reason why he can't be a donor. We'll have a chat with him. That's all fine. And then our final person we need to speak to is this lady here. Now, we're doing a quick visual cue that she's got a badge on her saying 16 today, and as you know, if you're 16, you can't do a direct debit, so she wouldn't be the right person to speak to. So in a very quick fire interaction, I now know roughly who I can and can't speak to, and because this is built and adapt, I've completed the game, and now it's unlocked the next part of my learning, which is the feedback of all the people that we've met in that game, and it explains who and why I can speak to. So the guy that was for example, this elder lady here, you can approach this lady, though be mindful of any vulnerability issues, which leads us on nicely to our other example, which is I've gone full screen because it looks nicer on full screen, but we'll go and look at our vulnerability one. Now, this is one I mentioned that is a bit more of an emotive subject. So that game approach maybe isn't the most correct approach to go with. So I've unlocked some of the components beforehand, and in this one we're going to use some video. So here we have the example of that interaction where you come to the door and you're speaking to somebody, a member of the public.
Did you say it's about children?
Yeah, that's right.
And what's wrong with these children?
Well, they're not going to school. They're staying at home to care for their parents.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just a moment. Would you please repeat that?
They're not going to school?
So we get another example of her perspective. So that's maybe how she sees her interaction with the client. And because, as we say, a lot of these people, they don't get very long time to understand their training. They basically have to go through this stuff quite quickly. So now we're going to show it from the other perspective, the perspective from the chap that she's been speaking to, and maybe she'll understand now why he's not necessarily following the conversation. Because although she's saying and doing all the right things, he doesn't understand her.
I'm sorry, just a moment.
And so, by using a bit more of a twist on the idea of using video, we're able to make a much more powerful punch. On this example here, we have another fundraiser going to meet a lady at the door.
Hi there. We're just calling around the area to talk to people about the work of the UK Life Fund. Do you have a few minutes? Well, my name's Jess, and I'm a paid fundraiser working for the UK Life Fund as part of their in-house team. Are you having a good day today? Can I have a moment of your time just to talk about educating disadvantaged children? Did you know that almost 1 million children in the UK are denied access to education because of family poverty?
Now, as we mentioned before, nuance, etc., and non-verbal communication is very, very key to this, because as we can see, that lady was somewhat confused and maybe not understanding exactly what was going on. The reason for that was because she has a real serious visual impairment and she can't even see the person at the door.
Hi there.
She can't see the badge.
We're just calling around the area to talk to
and she's
people
having real trouble keeping up with what you would normally use to find out who that person is. So this is why she can't follow the conversation. And that would be much harder to do in a game, in a way that felt, you know, in a way that feels genuinely emotive. So that's essentially an example of a real life project we made using both games and then video as an alternative means of getting that message. So I'll just hand you back now to Louise to continue. Thanks very much.
Well, thank you very much, Jason. I hope that really showed how and what we can do really with games and video, and I think that both of them have been really powerful. I think the games, it was really sort of fun, and I think, you know, when I watched that video, I just was really quite moved, you know, going through that. I thought, my gosh, I can really imagine what it must be like to be that person. So I think just really to kind of summarize and some takeaways, multi-device really, you know, is part of modern life. And adapt with bespoke components can be used to deliver multi-device games and video, which we hope we've demonstrated to you. Clarity, flexibility, and consistency is what learners are looking for, so to be able to deliver that across multiple devices is important. Games really are part of the e-learning fabric. We're not talking about this being a passing fad. Video and e-learning can really trigger emotion, and I hope that we demonstrated that through those videos. And multi-device games and video really can help learners love to learn. If you'd like to try some games or just get a feel for other things that we're doing, you can come to our stand. This is Derek's Data Dilemma game. If you'd like to come and see how you do. You can find out if you're a security superhero, a binary butterfingers, or a data disaster. Find out how good you are with security in your business or your organization. And there's also a leaderboard, and we're publishing the top 10 scores, so come along and see other things that we're doing that Jason and his team have built. Or if you'd like to learn more about the PFRA project, come and see us about that as well. And finally, if you're interested in a copy of this talk, you can come see us on stand C16, that's in the other building by Theatre 5. Or I've got here Laura with a zapper who's happy to kind of zap your badge to send you some notes if that would be helpful. But I hope you enjoyed the talk and I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks very much.